Hello, folks, and welcome to the Dark Roast Podcast. It's been quite some time since I uploaded an episode, since 2023. It's good to be back, ready to innovate and, reamp this episodes. It's been quite a while due to the fact of life, honestly. Work has been busy, got family things going on, weddings, baby showers, all your typical late 20s entering 30s. But it's nice to get back on course with this podcast, and I'm hoping to be more consistent and try to, maintain more on this account. With that being said, our next guest, he is a buddy of mine and a longtime friend since 2008. We go way back to our high school days. His name is Brandon Wilkins. He is a music producer, along with his innovative creativity, and also did stand-up comedy, which I did not know about until the episode came into the play. So I'm thankful to have him on board. We're going to discuss about his lifestyle with music production, his life going into the late 20s into the 30s, especially reflecting on things in a negative aspect and how he puts things into perspective, into a positive. And so we're going to get deep into it, so get ready for this episode. Never change, bro.
He said never change.
Never change.
Are we going live? You want to say 3, 2, or are we going already?
Oh, we're already going already.
Oh, it's live, baby. Okay.
Yeah, we're live.
Wow,
So,
okay.
Before we start getting into this, I do want to say it's been a while since I did the Dark Roast podcast, since literally almost a year ago. It's been like 10 months. So, thank you guys for being able to see and view for the first time in literally like almost a year. And this is episode 24. And I also didn't get a chance to introduce our featured guest. He's been a high school buddy of mine for 12 years already, right? Since 2000. No, more than that.
I mean, it's
because that's when we graduated. Yeah. So it's like 2008.
Yeah.
So that's like 16 years, right?
Yeah, just
16 years. Yes. Also, too, he produces music, so I know he's been doing that. He's been grinding. So, introducing Brandon Wilkins.
Yep.
Welcome, man.
My man.
Yes.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me first and foremost.
Yes.
The Dark Roast podcast is a staple in this town. I'm just going to come out and say it. You're essentially like Club Shay Shay for our people over here. And I mean this. I got to give you your flowers as well.
I appreciate that,
man.
You've
been giving people a spotlight to kind of speak what's going on. And
of course.
Listen, we're not on MTV or VH1 or anything like that, but we do still have voices, and you give some of our local members a chance to at least speak their truth or say what's going on in their life and give them a platform. So I gotta commend you on this and this beautiful new setup, which is, as you're saying, christening the new setup, which is pretty cool.
Yep. So I appreciate that, and truly, to have this new setup and having you as the honorary guest, it's worth the selection.
Hey, man,
you know what I mean?
That.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna treat this like a Cat Williams interview right now.
You should. Honestly, that's the point of the Dark Roast. So I always say in the Dark Roast, dark is we're gonna discuss about obviously the topics that we want to chime in, get ourselves acclimated, and at the same time too, we will discuss about both what you got going on in life, and also what we got going on in my life too. So that way we can just intertwine and stuff like that.
Of course.
And of course, if you want to roast me, by all means, that's part of the roast.
I
Dark
can't
roast,
roast
baby.
you, dog.
Oh, come on,
you're unroastable.
I'm roastable. I'm instant roast, bro. I'm roast like nuts, man. It's crazy. But anyways, to get things started, how have you been? How's everything with you? I know we haven't seen each other for we did see each other back in August, but it was very brief because you had to go somewhere after that, right? To Moonroof.
Yeah, I was traveling for Moonroof. You and I touched base. We were talking about this before we started recording, but we're always satellite boys. I consider you one of my closest hometown friends. People that I know that if I needed to ask you something or say what's up or just checking with you, you'd be someone to respond and be like, hey man, this is what's going on, or we would just tap in with each other.
Yeah, once in a while.
We see each other at parties. Or some of our mutual friends hang out, and we always just get a second to have a sidebar, and I love that. But what we were talking about beforehand was this is a chance for us to do a little bit more long form, and so you really don't know much about what's been going on with me over the past year outside of our little intermediate hangout, so to speak.
Yeah, do tell.
It's been an okay year, man. I can't complain. I'm here breathing 2024. I turned 30 this year.
Same, man. Likewise.
Milestone.
We hit the 30 club, bro. We hit the 30
Growth,
club.
Bones are aching. Back is aching.
You notice that too? I swear to God. All right, here's my thinking, right? So, you know how people in like the late 20s, right? And we were obviously just got out of the late 20s and we're entering the 30s. And I remember like every time, like in our late 20s, we're all like thinking like, oh man, like 30 is going to be a big change. Like it's going to be like, it's going to hit different and blah, 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 which it did. Yeah. But like, I think because the late 20s already prepared us into the entrance of the 30s. Like, I felt like when it hit 30, like nothing changed except for my body deteriorating.
Yeah, so my mental state was already on the growth path, and I agree with you.
Yeah, like it's already mentally prepared.
Mentally, I was preparing for like, hey, this is another chapter. This was compartmentalized my 20s. Fine, happy with that. Had fun, experimented, tried different things, trial and error, whether it be career, friends, whatever have you. Yeah, that's what that compartment was for. Yeah, and then towards the tail end of it, 28, 29, I was like, all right, well, what's the long-term game plan for the rest of your life? What do you actually want to do? And all those pieces started falling like into place, so to speak. But I had already known that as far as maturing. I wasn't worried about turning 30. I know some people out there might be worried about turning 30s. If you're in your 20s, you're fine. It's just the sequel to the 20s. It's fine.
Pretty much. It was already a preparation. Like your late 20s was already the prep to 30.
Yeah, it was fine. Yeah. After I had 25, 25 felt like 30. When I was in...
Yeah, when you hit the quarter century.
Yeah, actually, as a matter of fact, the job that we used to work at Cascades, one of our former coworkers had said to me, I was like, it's my 20th birthday. He was like, so you're 30. And I was like, well, not technically. It's my 25th birthday. But they're like, but after 21, And then, right. They busted my chops, but it was fine. But to your point, though, physically was the only thing that I felt afterwards. Right, it was just my back. One of my customers, I operate my full-time career job right now is running my extermination company with my family, my brother, and my father.
Oh yeah, tell me more about that. Yeah.
Yeah, so we go all over the place. We're throughout the tri-state area. We're located right here in town, in Hackettstown, but we've made our way through Virginia, Connecticut, New York, Maryland, Virginia, and Pennsylvania. So we're all over the place. We got a small little squad, but we go everywhere.
You literally just came back from Connecticut and literally went from Connecticut to your house to here.
To here, yeah. So my day can vary upon days.
You see that, folks? That's commitment right there.
The hustle is real.
The hustle is real, man. So this kid be grinding all the time, man. And I've always seen it throughout. So
yeah, I appreciate that.
But go ahead, continue with the
to your point, I was talking before, one of my customers is she operates a surgical center for spinal surgeries. Yeah. And I was just going through there, like inspecting the property because any type of medical facility has to be pristine, clean, and
has to be sterilized,
of course.
Yeah.
And so I'm going there just checking out the building, and she sees me like hunched over, and she's like, "Brandon, what's going on with your back?" I'm like, "What's going on with my back?" And she just like comments like, "You gotta get X-rays. You gotta get X-rays because I can see how you're hunched over." And I'm like, "It's in." Like I got back in my truck. I'm like, "It's happening. You're getting old now."
It's like you're getting old now. Yeah, because you're like. So here's the thing too. My take on that. So I've been going to a wellness center because the Crunch in Hackettstown, they have like a High Point Wellness Center like already built next door.
Really?
Like it's its own thing, but you have to walk into Crunch gym, and then the minute you enter the door, it's the door for the High Point is on the left. So I've been going like once, twice a week, just to get like the massage therapy, stretches. Oh, my stretching is horrible, dude. I remember like the one doctor, she was just like, "Hey, I'm gonna stretch you," and I'm like, "Oh shit!" And I was like, "Did you stretch?" I'm like, "Oh, you're gonna find out." And so like she like when she does like the little you flex and then she pushes your leg
all the way back, feel the tension,
And I remember like I think I stretched and I was like, "Oh, mom," and she started busting out loud because that's how
I'm gonna get you through, bud.
And she was like, "This is really how far you can go." I'm like, And she was just like, "Damn, you got to stretch, homie."
She saw the single tear come down and everything.
Yeah, she was cracking up. And so it made me realize, like, obviously stretching is such an important thing to utilize. Even when she told me, I still haven't listened. I guess because I just haven't had the time to stretch.
Yeah.
Going to it, too, besides that, they also had, like, massage therapy.
Love that.
And obviously the adjustment for chiropractic. So it's always nice to have it It's not for everybody, though. Like, you don't have to do it, like,
Well, this is what I wanted to ask you. Are you feeling a noticeable difference between before when you started the treatments to now?
Oh, so much different. Yes, significant. Like, I feel so good after I get out of that. Like, there'll be times where, like, and you know this, where it can be stressful.
Oh, yeah.
Either work, your life. Sometimes, like, it can be a factor to your body. And sometimes you get tense. And so you don't realize it, you know what I mean? And you know how when they call your coworker, I forgot who it was, like, she called you out about your back.
Yeah, my back,
yeah. You don't even realize it.
You don't.
And really so, like, yeah, because you're so in tune with, what you got going on, and that's fine, because you're so focused with work that you're just trying to get things done, but it doesn't realize how much the body was affected.
You're taking you're taking like little
detriments.
Hits. Yeah. You're taking little hits all the time.
Yeah.
But like you said, just making points. And now this is part of where we're at right now, the old man conversation.
The old man,
yes. Okay, we're talking about coming out of the 20s being okay up here, but physically you just got to keep this in check. It's got to keep this in check. And don't take it for granted, folks. Don't take it for granted.
No, I know. It's like, just make sure you take care of your body. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Going to it, I know we talked about the physical aspect of it. How are you feeling so far, in a mental area of, when you enter your 30s? I know you said 2024 was an okay year. Tell me more details about that, like, what's been going on, or what you've been, doing, or anything that you've been challenging yourself on in particular?
Absolutely. So, before I came, well, I should give some context.
Yeah, tell me.
I moved to Ohio. I was in Jersey working with my family's company for quite some time, and I was doing that. I'm fortunate enough to be in a position where I can fall back or lean on something where I know is consistent, and I always have a hand in the company, whether I'm in the state or not. I always have business operations I can deal with on the fly, but I wanted to give myself a chance to explore my degree, which is media production with a minor in English. So I was going to work back in radio, which I did in college, and after I graduated, so I went back to Ohio. I went to Kent State, which is just outside of Cleveland, and I was working at a radio station there. It was a nice fit and it was cool, but the thing with radio is it's not very lucrative.
I see.
If you're in like certain positions, I mean, don't get me wrong, it can be, but it's a slow grind. But once you get into those like higher positions, it can be beneficial. But where I was at and just moving out there on my own, I gave it a shot for maybe like 5 or 6 months. But it felt like isolated. Like I gave myself a shot. Like I was moving out with one of my friends that lives out in Columbus, and they were like, "Hey, you can live with me. I got this whole apartment, like an extra room and stuff like that, so you can hang out." I felt it out. I tried stand-up comedy for a little bit.
You did stand-up comedy? I did not realize that.
Yeah, dude.
Actually, I could see it, but I didn't know you were doing it. What?
So,
tell me more of this. What?
So this is what's going into that late 20s period where, like I said, I was just kind of feeling things out and just seeing what I wanted to do.
Yeah. You're just exploring, man.
Like I said, I've always been fascinated with media, so I was radio, music, TV, like these are my passions and stuff like that. So I was just trying to find what avenue I could carve myself into. And when I was out there, I was like, I'll do radio, and then at nights I'll go to the bars and I'll do a little bit of stand-up. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not a stand-up comedian. I don't, because a lot of comedians will come at me right now and be like, dude, you're not going to do stand-up. I went up a total of like 9 times. And it was cool. I got some laughs. It was a very cathartic experience. Yeah. I understand why people do it. It can be addictive. But if I'm being honest with myself, I just didn't like the commitment of the grind for that and stuff like that.
That's a lot,
It's like being at like a club at like 11:30 at night and just sitting around on like an open mic list and just waiting in like a corner, but like I'm going up. Yeah. Eventually.
When you did like your first stand-up, were you nervous? You had to be nervous or something, right? Like just kind of like, oh God, like I'm about to be on stage and I'm hoping they get a first laugh of what I'm about to say or something. You know what I mean? Because I don't know. I never or seen the experience of how a stand-up comedy, when people, the minute you go on stage, it's like, oh shit, what's like my first phrase, I gotta say.
It's weird, man. I had been writing. It wasn't like I was just winging it. I did take time to actually write some jokes out and stuff like that. So I had a friend my friend who I was staying with in Columbus, he actually is in the comedian circuit. He is a full-fledged comedian, and he's touring across the country. Shout out to Zach Harley. You know who you are, brother.
Shout out Zach.
He is out here doing the damn thing, and I was going with his troop of comedians that he like, just like not like a troop, but like just his friends that he would hang out with, and they would all do stand up, and I was going with him for a while, but I was nervous 100%. And actually, one of the his friends in that group, her name's Kate. She's awesome. She's watched my performance, and she's like, "You were like clenched up there, like you were at your first spelling bee." Crushed me, and then she's like, "No, but eventually you warmed up. And then I got some laughs at the end, and it was really cool." But to your point, I was petrified, dude. I would have been the same thing. I would have been like, listen, I like to socialize and speak all the time, but even like in public speaking, like I still get fearful because like I'm like, I don't even know what the hell I'm gonna say, even in meetings at work. Oh yeah,
like the words that I would say is like,
this PowerPoint for us?
It's like otherwise perhaps in likely a follow up, and I'm just like, I don't know what the fuck I'm saying. I think I'm just like bullshitting, but it somehow makes sense.
In quarter 3, I think that's what it does.
I was like, I think in Q2, if we think of the revenue purposes here, it will alleviate some and I'm here like, what am I saying? And praying this makes sense.
That is literally that, and that is the crux of it, though. Even if I had my jokes that were like pre-written out, and I had made some people laugh, or like a PowerPoint that was already pre-written out, and the information is right there.
Yes.
You don't have the confidence when in the moment you're like, I think this works, but like the free fall feeling, it's exhilarating, like a roller coaster. Yeah. But I don't know if I love the hit and miss ratio of that. I'm more of a writer, so like I can write comedy, but like actually doing stand up, I commend anyone that wants to do it, and I implore people to do it. But I just maybe I'll try it again at another point. But I gave my hand at that.
Yeah, you gave it a shot, dude. You actually, if I just thought about it within the past 5 minutes, what you just told me, you are actually like multi-talented. Like you have production and music, like you do stand-up comedy. I didn't even know that you did stand-up. I've known you for 16 years, and you tell me that you do stand-up comedy, or at least gave it a shot. Hey, that's awesome. Especially the fact the 2024, and this is this year.
This is within the past year and a half. So the stand-up was in the tail end of like the fall going into this new year, and then I started doing some reset. But this was all compacted, which is why I kind of compartmentalized for this year of where I was like framing it. And that was a blueprint to where I am now, which is why I started to recenter my focus on music. And the things that I learned from my little trade in stand-up was the work ethic and how much time you need to put in to master your craft. I put a lot more time in music than I had comedy, so I was like, if, as opposed to giving half to one of these things, let me give 100% as opposed to spreading myself thin. I'm glad I tried it, and I wanted to prove that to myself. But I realized it was like, this is your bread and butter. Music has been with you since you were a kid, and like you've always honed in on it. So why not pour yourself into that? Take some of the things you learned, but pour it back into that. So that's what I've been doing for this.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. I feel like this year for you, like you were just exploring, just to kind of see what your niche is, because you know what I mean. Because you have all these type of repertoires, and it just really came down to like, okay, I tried this. I tried stand-up comedy. I seriously think that the niche is slowly coming towards me, because it's such a difficult place. Yeah, I know this table is like wonky. I was telling you this. Yeah,
it's the wob.
We apologize. No, it's fine. It's fine. Like I said, this is like a table where it's just gonna keep moving. Yeah. But going back to it, sorry, I'm like sidetracking. When you find like the thing that you want to do at heart, right? It's such a difficult place to find. Like I feel like a lot of people in this world are still figuring things out. Even like I figured things out, I'm still like, I figured it out, but I still feel like there's more they have to figure out.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
You mentioned this before. There's a part about figuring out and feeling comfortable where you're at, and then thinking about, is there more I want to accomplish, or is there more that I want to get done? And that's what this past year has been. So the trial and error period towards the tail end of last year was me figuring things out, and then this year is me more enacting and putting into place the things I thought about to what I want to actually manifest, if that makes any sense.
No, that makes sense. It makes sense. What were some of the challenges going through this trial and error? You know what I mean? Because I know like there had to be some times too where it was just like, damn, like is this like the right direction for me? Or you know what I mean? Like, was there any places that you were trying to
moving back from Ohio? Like I would say like from Ohio coming back to Jersey to do the comedy thing. For like a brief moment, and again, I'm going to be completely vulnerable, like a part of me, not to think I'd become a star overnight, but I was like, I mean, you gave it a shot, but you're You don't have a Netflix special or anything like. You don't get a Netflix special overnight. But I was just like, you gave up on that thing. But for maybe like a month, I was beating myself up for it.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, because I was just like, because I really had high hopes for it. Like I said, I did like the 9 nights that I went up, and I had like a really euphoric feeling from it, and I thought like this could be the direction. But deep down in my soul, I was like, I don't think this is gonna be it. Which again, for better or worse, it brought me to coming back home. But it was humbling when I came back to Jersey, and I was like, all right, back to the grind. So again, comfortable enough and very fortunate enough and blessed to be in a position where I can go back and grind to my business that's been able to support me in my endeavors. But I got back and I was like, all right, it's go time. So back to the grind. And then when you find your next creative outlet or what you want to do next, that's what you pour yourself into. Yeah. And the second I got back and started going back on my grind, that's when I started to think about the emotions that I felt going through that past year. And that's what inspired the new music that I've been working on.
So it's truly at the end of it all, like the niche was, I think it's your music production, right?
The music production, and then I had to go through that trial and error of our 20s, that figure out what I want to do going out to Ohio, to figure out, oh, that's what you were trying to figure out. Like you were trying to tell yourself, hey, it's okay, you're not where you're at right now, but this is what you've been trying to figure out. And
that's awesome.
Takes a little bit of self-awareness, and I know it sounds like, hey man, you just realized you want to do music this whole time, but like sometimes it's not that easy for everybody.
No, not at all. I think like having that self-awareness is incredible, because sometimes you're in your own head. I've been in my own head, you've been in your own head, and it's like that place where you're like, is this the right place for me?
Well, let me ask you, what's your best way to get at it? Because that's one of the things I've been trying to figure out, and I've been asking my engineers, my producers when we work on stuff, like thematically, that's kind of what we're getting at. Like, how do you get out of your own way to achieve more? Necessarily. So, give me your take. What are your tools that you use to kind of push yourself along, so to speak?
I think the biggest tool is the supporting cast that I have. So, you know how and you saw my podcast where I had like too many friends, right? And sometimes you kind of find out who the real ones are. They'll tell you like what's up, like what's going on. Yeah. And sometimes you need that clarity. Because you're so in tune with what you got going on that you feel like you're not doing enough.
Absolutely.
But realistically, you are doing more than enough, because you're accomplishing things day to day without thinking. Because you're just so in tune of, I got to get this done, like, why am I not? And then sometimes you got to get that support from your family and friends being like, hey, like, be honest with me, like, am I doing all right? Because I remember in my past experience, there were times where, like, I'm always a positive person, right?
You're one of the most positive people I know.
Yeah, but it can't be positive all the time. Sometimes I can
say this. Yeah. God, I've never seen Jan in a rage mode where he's like, you got. I've never seen that. One of the most positive, calm, coolest people, down to earth, respective human beings. I commend you in that.
I appreciate.
Wait, watch when you turn 40. You're like, you just immediately turn the other way around. And
just
like
just 180. Just go like, this is from all the 20 years I've been holding this down.
I wouldn't even blame you, honestly, for as much positivity that you put out in the world. If you want to do the last 50 years just being angry, go for it, dude. Go for it.
Always.
Go all out.
Always.
Go out.
I'm just going crazy. Can you imagine? I'm going to just go crazy. I'm kidding.
No, I'll cut you off.
No, you're good. So, I had, a few friends had, especially the close ones. So, I'm always a positive person all the times. But there are times where I felt, that negative feeling sometimes. Because I'm just like, it feels like isolated. Like, I feel like, am I doing okay? Like, sometimes I'm in my own head. So I need my friends, I need my family, just asking these type of questions like, hey, like, I don't even know if I'm doing enough. Like, and I remember, and him, he was telling me, like, because I was kind of going off a little bit on some things that I was going through. And he's like, dude, I don't know if you're realizing this, but you've been doing so good. Like, think about it. Like, you have like a really great job. Like, you're making so much money. Like, you're literally like have a good supporting cast. You're doing a podcast. You're doing vlogging. Like, you're doing all these things that you're loving. Like, what are you upset about? And I was like thinking, like, you're right. Like, I think I just want to be great, and I want to be like, I think I'm just trying to force myself to be at the top of my game.
There's a difference between that Kobe mentality, but like, I think there's more I should be doing for sure.
Yeah.
1,000%. But sometimes with people like us, we can be like a little bit harsh on ourselves and like be a little bit harsh on critique and being like, I should be doing more. It's okay to feel that way, but the same breath, you got to be able to take a pause and say, hey, I am doing enough though. I am doing a lot more than I was doing before, or I'm doing a lot, and I should acknowledge that. Give yourself a little bit of grace. I think that's an important thing.
Put a pat on your own shoulder, man. Like
exactly. Yeah, that is so important. And even I'll expand upon it even more. What you said about being the positive person in the friend group. I've spoken to one of my close friends from college, my man Ty. He had
Ty.
Yes. Ty. We had a really good conversation not too long ago. But we had said this about in college because we like to be the silly, jokey guys. But the same thing with you, just showering sunlight and positivity. That person that's constantly exuding that stuff needs to feel the same way. And if you don't get that, sometimes you don't have the sunlight, so you have dark clouds over you when you're too busy showing your sunlight on everybody else. Yeah. And it's just taking a beat and being like, hey, just like you just said, it's okay to pat yourself on the back. It's good to shout out to everybody, show love and everyone. Yeah. But give yourself a little bit of grace. That's what I've been trying to do, dude. Trying to do that. I think that's important as you get older.
It's huge. Yeah. Like I think like especially the tools like the supporting cast I was telling you. Another tool too I feel like that really helped out was waking up every day knowing that. Because, like in life, every day is going to be different. Like you can have your happy days, you can have your upset days, sad days. Emotions are always going to be running wild, especially what you're doing day by day, whether it's work, relationships, or traveling, or all these stuff that will, take up like, the mental energy and the emotional and physical energy.
Absolutely.
But I always felt like too, like it's like I'm thankful. I always felt like learning lessons are big. Like whether it's a bad one, good one, it's like it's so tough because it's like how do I be better? Like especially on the negative aspects. Like some things like when you go through you're just like
you take a second and you have to breathe and go through it. But just like you said, it's lessons. My friends and I think everyone in the internet could say like there's really no taking L's. All L's are just lessons. That's really as it comes through.
It is.
And as corny as it may sound, there is some truth to it because did you have a bad breakup or did you lose that job? Did you get laid off? What happened? But what did you take away from it? I know what you feel in that moment, but what did you gain and what did you realize? Hey, going forward, how do I not put myself in this position, or how do I get better so that I don't find myself in this position at all, kind of thing.
Yeah, and that's how you gain that knowledge, that wisdom. And so that's another area where I feel like, when you're in your own head, it's like every day you just have to think about lesson learns.
Oh, yeah.
Supporting cast will always get your back. Lesson learns will always get your back. Oh. And that's how the growth comes in, the growth mentality.
Absolutely.
Because like every day, and that's another topic that I wanted to discuss with you was growth. Absolutely. Like just being in that place entering in our 30s. And let's look back into it. Like our early 20s to late 20s, we were going through a lot of like trials and tribulations. You know what I mean?
I was in a relationship. I was like trying to figure out my career, and like things change.
Yeah, things are happening, right?
That's what happens in your 20s, bro. Like it's a part of life. This is honestly, I don't regret anything that's ever happened to me. Just like we say, like no L's, just lessons. I genuinely am grateful for everything that's happened to me, for better or worse. It's made me the human being I am. But now I'm able to reconcile with all the information that's come to me at this point. And now I'm like, all right, I know this is trauma, this is stress, this is what happened to me before. And now this is how I move forward. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like I'm able to understand what things are coming into my window and what I choose to let in and what I don't.
Ooh, I like that.
I'm talking in riddles now. This is the lyricist in me, and this will make more sense when we start talking about the music.
Please start producing at this point. I don't know what I just.
I didn't bring my soundboard. I could have just been doing samples the whole time.
Yeah, whatever you just said, that was
just doing snaps.
That was oof.
Don't worry, we'll do subtitles at the end of it.
Quick question though, because we got to that point where you finally reconciled with what you accepted in self-awareness. Like you were aware of things that you're like, okay, what should I let go? What should stay around, right? So when do you recall that mentality start to, like, when you started realizing it, when do you recall that time when you were just like, okay?
It was right when I left Ohio. Like I said, I know I kind of like brushed over it. Like I said, that was a transition for me to come back to New Jersey. But, and I know I made it sound like it was fun because I was doing radio and doing comedy, but it kind of was a dark spot for me for a little bit because, to your point, the thing that champions you and helps you out of those dark spots are your friends and your family. While I was doing this solo mission of trying to get my radio career started and do comedy, I was alienating a lot of people that I should not have. And just full transparency, I regret it. I wish I had done it differently. I don't regret it. I feel like my emotions in that moment were validated. I understand why I reacted the way I did to certain situations. But in that moment, I realized I was in a really dark place. And the people that I would usually lean on, I wasn't able to do that. So me leaving Ohio, like I said, where I was very isolated and being like, hey, you know, whether it be substance abuse or like isolation, like these are things that are not contributing to your success. So what you need to do is get back to your family, cut out certain things, and then find your footing again so you can go back to being successful because you weren't recognizing yourself.
Got it.
This portion of time is important for me to mention. Like I say, before I get to the positive things and the outcome of like the music and the things that are really great for me right now.
Yeah, tell me more.
It was just, there was that dark period. So like I said before, I was trying new things, trying to venture out my own, but it was a dark period because I isolated some people that I kept close to me. We talked about leaning on people like your friends, your family unit to get you out of your own head. In that little stint, that 6-7 months when I was out there, it was me in my own head trying to stand up and making people laugh and put myself out there and doing radio. But when I get back to the apartment, it was just me isolated. I wasn't talking to any of my friends, and I was really just in this bubble. And like I said, substance abuse and specifically drinking. Like I said, I've had trouble with that in the past. Again, I want to be transparent and just vulnerable. But I saw things that I didn't like about myself, and I had to come home to kind of readjust.
Kind of like self-evaluate like what you're going through, especially like you said, you said you were like drinking like frequently or something like that. Yeah,
it was behavior that I didn't recognize in myself, and I didn't like that. And then, like I said, and I felt like it was just now, like, because I'm basically working during the day for radio, like getting up super early and then sleeping in the afternoons and then getting up super late at night to go do stand-up. So my hours are crazy, but I'm like, this isn't healthy for me. And I recognize that. And again, self-awareness is important, like we talked about before. But it took me a minute to realize, hey, I think you need to make amends with your friends, start reaching out for help and talking to them, catch up with them.
Oh, absolutely.
Let them back in and make things right, and so that way you can get back on track with your life. And after I touched base with my friends, checked in with them, they're like, hey Brandon, you're good, you didn't go astray, like we thought you just needed space. And everyone came back and go, hey bro, you're good. And it's important to have a camp or like a circle of people that you can
lean on. It's like
that.
And that's like the thing too, like, you know, it's normal to feel isolated at times, but it's a good place to kind of think about like what you're going through. You know what I mean? Because sometimes, like, you know, when you're like, I remember when I isolate myself sometimes, like I always need my me time. You know
absolutely.
what I mean? And when I go on a 10-year for quite some time where I don't speak to anybody, you know, I always like think to myself like, you know what, like I need some supporting cast, so that I have to need to reach out, and I gotta see, you know, what's everyone been up to, like, are you like, and the best part about this supporting cast, they are fine with me, like the door is always open. And that hits home
more than you know. Most times people want to hear from you. That was probably one of the things that hurt me the most when I actually made reconciliations and talked to all my friends after like I said, alienating myself. They're like, yeah dude, we wanted to update you. We wanted to tell you what's going on with it. Like, we didn't hear from you, but we just want to give you your space. And the whole time they're like, we were wondering what you were up to, dude. And, you know, and I realized that. And you can't do that. It's okay to live up here and do some reflection sometimes. I think that's healthy. Me time is absolutely necessary. I agree. But if you lock yourself in your castle all day by yourself, it's
gonna feel you're gonna feel lonely.
It's
a lonely world, bro.
And it gets crazy, man. You start talking to walls, and it's no good.
It's like I always say this too, like in the journey that you're trying to find yourself and where you want to be. Like, I know what you're talking about too, because sometimes you got to isolate yourself to find where you need to be.
Exactly.
Like to find this inner peace. But then when that time comes, you just start to kind of realize like, oh shit, I'm too deep in here. Maybe like, yeah, like I found like the journey that I'm going through, and I'm trying to find like going through this trial tribulation. But at the same time too, you know, my friends, they're the people that can push me to that journey more.
They need
you know,
me
as
much
like
as I need them.
Yes,
you know,
they are huge, and like that's why it's nice to touch base once in a while.
It 100% is.
Yeah, it's such a these words from your friends, and even you know saying stuff to your friends. It's so impactful because of like how long you guys known each other.
Exactly. And
you know what I mean?
Just disregarding that and being like, I know I'm going through some stuff, but like, hey, that person was going through some stuff and you were there for them. You should let them be there for you and vice versa. So it's a very real effect that some people disregard when you get caught up in your own world and no bubble. Listen, everyone's got a lot on their plate, and sometimes it can be overwhelming. But the only thing I can implore to anybody is just reach out. Reach out, and not just for yourself. Sometimes you might not know your friend's going through something, and you should ask and just see what's up with them. You know,
that's
you
huge.
Never know.
That's huge.
And I had people do that for me, so that's why I say I'm on the other end of it, and I feel very blessed and I'm very happy. I'm very grateful to the people that are in my life.
Hey, I love that. Hey, you
gotta put that out there.
Yeah, I gotta put it. Listen, like I'm touched too. Like especially like our conversations. Like usually we haven't like done our deep talks in quite some time, but every time we do, they're just impactful because like
warms my heart.
Yeah, because like you know it's you know whoa where you been?
Yeah,
you know it's been months. Yeah, we've seen each other, but we haven't like fully get that deep conversation in
passing. And as we get older, this is what I also say. Listen, we're at the 30 mark, so a lot of our friends, I'm sure you can open up your feet. Either they're getting engaged or they're popping out somebody.
Somebody, marriage.
Someone's popping out, you know, and that's okay. And we're going to get to that. And I mean that with the utmost respect and joy. It's a beautiful thing. But life happens, and we might not be able to keep in contact with everyone as much as the same way that we used to when we were in high school or college and whatnot. But even if you just like randomly, like you don't have to speak to them on a weekly basis, daily basis. Yeah. Maybe 3 weeks from now, you're like, you know what? I haven't talked to that guy anymore. Are you good, man?
Yeah, it's like
you know what I'm saying. Like I get a text like that, it makes my day. I was like, yo, I gotta hit Jim back. I gotta hit Jim. You know what I mean? Literally. Yeah. I mean, that shout out to Jim Isaac, our guy, Rivera.
Oh, I bet. Oh man, where's he been, man? Holy shit.
Again, and I'll tell you, he's doing okay. He's okay. He's looking out for himself right now. But it's okay to tap in with your friends and just check in, you know? So I think that's important.
No, it's key, bro. It's key.
Like I said, and I say that as the receiver and as someone that's been the giver on that as well. So that's important. Yeah. But on the tail end of that, I came back from Ohio and all the changes were positive. So I came back and I did the reset, which was good. And I was able to reflect on the feelings that I had when I was out there searching for myself. And I was able to... I say as I get marble mouth, I was able to articulate myself and tell what I was feeling on the record that I was making. So when I actually got to the point when I was actually able to get my emotions and my thoughts right, I was able to make music of what I was experiencing. I couldn't really tell people what was going on, like I said, that isolation period, but now I have music to actually kind of explain that. So that has been the outlet over the past year. I love that.
Let's talk more into that. I want to know too, because you know, now that we're entering into the positive outlook, you're able to reflect, and now you're going into to your music and your production, right? Tell me like how that started, like the origin of how you got into music. Like, did that start in high school, or was it college, or
maybe started
like elementary?
I would probably say elementary
Fetus?
School. You
heard music, you're like this?
No, my dad had the boombox next to my mom's belly, and it was just like...
He's like... I was like, I'm feeling it.
You know me. But basically, no, my first earliest moment when I knew I connected to music was probably like 3rd or 4th grade. No, it was 4th grade. My mom had gotten my brother and I a Nokia cell phone. And
classic.
We shared it for us to like use to get on the bus with, to call home and tell mom, hey, we're coming home, we're getting on the bus now. If she's not home, we call and tell her, hey, we're here, just so you know.
Just be aware,
But on the feature, there was 2 things that you could do. You could play Snake, the little
I remember that. Yeah.
And then it also...
Was that Tetris? I don't know.
Ours didn't have Tetris, but I knew some games you could download.
Yeah, I was like, I just remember like the black, like the dark screen. Like,
the little lines.
Yeah.
Hey, bro, that was like PS5 back in the day.
Dude, that was PS5. That was our version.
You kids don't know.
Yeah. Now they all have iPhones, bro.
Yeah, they're like, dude, what are you talking about? But basically, the other thing you could do on there was some voice memos. So as like a fourth grader, I would usually go in there and I would make up my own little hums, and I would be like boop bop boop doo doo bop boop boop boop, and I would listen to them back to myself. I swear, like I would listen back to No Kid. I'm like, isn't this silly? And I would show my brother, and he was like, delete that. Mom doesn't want this on the phone. That's not what it's for. And I was like, but it's fun though, right?
I love that. I love that. And that's how you kind of grew into like the beats, the humming.
Music, and that was the first earliest thing. But the DJ Obsidian thing, that whole moniker and that origin didn't really start until maybe like 2011, 2012.
It's like junior
junior going to
school.
senior year.
Yeah.
I started, I got my MacBook and I started downloading GarageBand, and I started making like just beats and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And prior to that, I was handing out like mixtapes, like CDs
cool.
You know, our friends in the parking lot of just like playlists and music songs that I thought were cool that I found on like SoundCloud or LimeWire. And I would basically hand those out to our friends. Yeah, exactly.
Download that shit. Free songs, baby.
So I'm like, yo, check these songs out. And so that was like how I first got like the DJ thing. Like I'm sharing these playlists with everyone. Yeah. Then I started making music on my MacBook, and then I started putting the mixes on the CDs to my friends. So I passed them out to our boys in the parking lot, and they were like in the cars as we're all riding out. I'm like, everyone's listening to my soundtrack right now, and it was a cool feeling.
I love that. Something's like stirring.
Oh, it felt the same feeling that I got from people laughing at my jokes on stage was that when people like Brandon showed me this song like that. I was like, oh yeah, I was like yeah. I remember I put a lot of people onto like Freaks and Geeks by Childish Gambino.
Oh my god, you were the one that showed me that song.
I remember playing it like in the parking lot. I was just like, they're like, next thing I know,
Freaks and Geeks. Oh my gosh,
I love that. But like that feeling of like sharing a feeling or sharing music with people always resonated with me. So I've always loved that.
I love that.
Being a DJ. But then I started creating my own stuff, and originally I used the moniker DJ Obsidian because I didn't want to put things out under my own name because I was like real insecure. They don't need to know it's me.
Yeah, you want to keep it like just
low key
outside
like
of my real name. You know what I mean?
And I did that. The origins of it is obsidian. I've always been fascinated with molten lava. It forms the mineral obsidian, which is like essentially like volcanic rock.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
It's
like
sharp, black, and kind of like me.
I like that. Yeah. And I was like, because I was curious. I'm like, I wonder where this obsidian.
That's 2013 Brandon speaking right now. Just so I thought it was so cool, and I did like a drawing in my little sketchbook, and I was like, this is what's gonna be whatever it represents musically. This is what I want it to be. So, and then early freshman year of college, I started making like a SoundCloud and like an HX page, and I started putting my music out there. And I had like a decent following. I got flagged because of samplings and stuff like that, so I lost my whole account. But
that sucks. Goddamn.
I have the files, but it's not worth re-uploading. Maybe like an archive thing. But I had like a following, and I got like garnered like some attentions. I was getting views. It was really cool, and I was like, people want to hear what I have to make, and it was really
the creativity was appreciated.
Yeah, that was really because like it's a kid in his dorm room making beats and music and just humming into it. Like I said, the same thing I was doing with the Nokia phone, doing the do, but now people actually want to listen to it, and that was a really like cool experience.
Now, when you start making, like, let's say if you're creating a beat or creating like creating a beat, right? What's like is the first thing to start creating a beat? You're humming to start the counts, or how does that work?
For me, it is. Usually, I start with a melody, so I'll find like. Da, 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 and then I'll just do that over
and then you
over.
Loop it. Okay.
I'll loop that, and then I will get someone that's more talented, like our friend Dan Radine of Moonroof.
Yep.
He's a drummer. I'll get someone like him. Shout out to Moonroof. I'll get someone like him who's more talented with drummers, and he can actually put a drum beat underneath that. I can add it myself, and I have in the past. But sometimes if I want it more like precise, I'll go to him or my engineer Tyler Braddock of the Vault. The vault. Gotta shout the vault. It's all product placement, guys.
Yes.
It's all product placement.
Tyler Braddock, man. I haven't seen him in a while, bro. I know he's excellent, man.
He's a hustler. He's the guy that's also put the battery in my back. So when I came back from Ohio to start working on my new music and stuff like that, he's the one that was like, the same way that you're checking in on me, he was checking on me. He was like, hey man, do you want to like get in the booth and like kind of vent and do that stuff? And I was just like, yeah, that would actually be really, really therapeutic for me right now. So
I love that.
That's kind of how it started for this new phase. But outside of that, before all of college, I was just making music and stuff like that, and just kind of experimenting and putting little projects and EPs out and stuff like that. So that's kind of where we got to now, where I kind of resurfaced and I was like, I think I can give this a little more attention.
Yeah, I like that. Sometimes when you're in the music production, you get out of it for a little bit, but then for some like when you come back, something like clicks with another like elevated level of creativity.
Oh yeah,
because you take a break and you're just like, you do your own thing, you come back and like, huh.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's like where do all these ideas randomly come from?
But this is how I'm about to connect the through line. The same way that you're able to jump back and set this up. You gave your audience an announcement. You were like, hey, this is episode 24. You're coming back, but you do it so organically. I think it was the same way for me when I got back to the studio. It was like, I've done this before, and it felt that way. And would you say you relate to it a little bit?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. When I like, I haven't, like I said, I haven't done this podcast in so long, right? So it was really nice. Like, maybe the break. The only thing I wish I was, being able to be good at was being consistent with episodes every time. Just like you, I was also going through a period of like hiatus with work, some personal stuff, and it took time out of my, my podcasting scene that I just, I was gone for a while.
Yeah.
And then when I finally, have you on the podcast, it had like this refreshing feeling again. But this time it was like, which shout out to you, appreciate you, man.
Hey, this feels refreshing.
It feels refreshing. And like, I feel like there's something, it feels different.
Yeah.
Like I feel like more like.
It's a new era.
It's a new era. Yeah. Like a new prepared, like this is not just a Dark Rose. This is the Dark Rose 30-year era podcast.
This is it, honestly. And it's the growth. And sometimes that window is needed so you can get to the updated version. Yeah, I'm sure you could have done some podcasts in between that you could have updated people, but sometimes it's hard to tell you what's going on or do the podcast when I got X, Y, and Z
going on. Right? Because you have other things that's going on in your life, because you're like prioritized with things like that. But then when not just this podcast too, but when I did my trip vlog to Nashville.
Oh, beautiful, by the way.
Appreciate that.
If you have not seen it, I highly implore you to check out John's travel vlog.
Appreciate that.
My man eats some spicy chicken. That's all I'll say. Pretty fun.
My ass was on fire. My ass was on fire. You know I went to that bathroom right after I had Hattie B's, bro. It was crazy.
Yeah, I've been wanting. I'm a foodie, so I definitely got to go try.
Oh, you got to, bro. That and their barbecue is excellent.
I'm with
fresh off the bone, bro. Oof.
Dog.
Tier 1.
I saw you with the brisket. I had to rewind and put it in like the 1.5 slow-mo when you watch the video back. I was like, I got it.
Little Kev, yeah. But going to it though, like there was something when I did the vlog, right? And I haven't done the trip segment. Actually, I did the trip segment in Rhode Island in June. So I have been recently, uploading at least 2 episodes, right?
Yeah.
But something hit different with them because like I felt like the creativity started elevating after I was gone for a while. Yeah. And I don't know why. Well, you know what I mean? It was like one of those like,
buddy, before you even got back to this, I was telling you after I watched the editing from like your earlier videos from when you first started your channel to now has improved so much. I was like, this guy's got sound effects in between clips. He's got music beds. He's got good jump cuts. Like everything is perfect in this. And I was just like, the growth of it is there. That's the 30-year difference as opposed to when we started like 10, maybe even 5 years from now, from before,
Yeah.
The growth is there. That has to happen before you present.
And to piggyback from that, it's also, and we went through this conversation, your supporting cast tells you know what I mean? So the periods of from when did I start doing the vlogs? Like 2017. So that was already been 7 years, right? Every time, like it was always something I added on, like new features, because I learned it from other vloggers, like videos. I'm a type of guy that loves to learn. Like I love critiques, so I don't mind like if someone tells me something like, hey, you should, maybe back off a little bit on this and maybe add this to it, and I don't take it personally because it's something that I want to continue growing into making the best vlog that I can personally do in my creativity.
When it comes to constructive criticism, especially when it comes to your friends, it's always okay to have an open ear.
It's always.
I would say most times, if they are truly your friend, they mean well.
Yeah, like if they tell you what it is, bro. Like
if they really love you, they will tell you if it's good or not.
They tell you if it's good, yeah. But just like you with music, it's like you come back to it after you go through your trials, tribulations. You try stand-up comedy. Okay, I gave it a go. This ain't working for me. Let me go back and reflect. Yeah. You go back in. You're like, whoa. Like now I'm feeling something different. Like maybe because you've gone through so much with this passion that you love. You kind of put it on the side for a little bit, but then you come back with like this extra oomph.
Re-energized.
You
just gotta step away, and that's okay.
And that's okay.
Sometimes, don't get me wrong. There are a lot of people that are able to stay consistent and grind. But for those where that if it doesn't suit your format or your formula, it's okay to take a step. Again, this works for me, and I don't want to project onto anybody else. But sometimes it's okay to put it down and then resurface and reassess. Yeah, that's all, and that's all I'm saying. But it's been a really good thing for me. Like I said, coming back to it.
I'm glad.
So yeah, it's been really, really positive. So I had that positive experience coming back, reconnecting with my friends and my family. And then
the growth that you've been
as
through.
Internally, mentally, I had to get myself straight so I can think clearly and actually know what I want to accomplish. Once I had all that set, I got some perks of finding out I had a nephew on the way.
That's awesome! Congrats! Congrats.
Appreciate that, man. He came in February. He was a little premature, so our family was watching this kid grow in the NICU unit for 7 months. Damn. And he finally came home this past week. So
that's recently too.
Yeah.
I'm glad. I'm glad, bro.
Real
oh my
time.
God.
So these are life events that are happening, and again, this puts things in perspective when you're working on whatever you got going on in your life. You got to keep in perspective what everything else. Everyone has something going on. So I was going through my trials and tribulations. My brother and his wife were going through their thing, and I can't burden them. I came back from Ohio. I thought I was gonna make it. I was gonna do this, and then we're like, hey man, they got a kid they're worried about right now. So you gotta compartmentalize your own little thing.
Your own little thing,
and be a supportive uncle for them and what they got going on. So,
it's a family thing. It's it's always a part of the echelon of priority of they are the people that I need to go to, or if they need me, you're the first to go. Yeah.
So when I came back, I'm leaning on them like, hey, Brandon, you're good. You're back home. You were family.
Yeah.
You were people you know. And then I'm seeing them. They're like, hey, man, I just need you to can you stop by? My brother have gotten closer over the years for sure. And this kid definitely would without a doubt did that for sure. But it was something that really put things in the forefront for me where I had to be like, oh, this is real life, and not everything is about what you got going on, and you got to open your ears. Hey, listen, I'm glad you're collecting yourself.
Collecting yourself, yep.
But at the same time, hey, you might need people. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little jumped.
No,
people, your family, your friends, those units that you relied on might need your help too. You know what I mean?
It's like a what's it called? It's like a vice versa, back and forth. Listen,
exactly.
You got my back, I got your back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You just got to be a little bit aware of when it's your time to give. And when it's your time when you can lean on somebody, that's all.
That's the the emotional, awareness, especially with your close friends, because sometimes, like you said, times where they won't tell you what they've been up to, and they'll tell you, oh yeah, everything's good, but deep down it's like, oh shit,
it's okay to pry. I have friends like that, and I respect people's boundaries and sometimes, but it's okay. There's a song I love. It's by this kid Tizo Touchdown.
Tizo Touchdown?
He's super dope. He came out within the past 2 years. I mean, he's been grinding for a minute, but he's really cool. But he has a song called Strong Friend, and it's literally a song about checking on your strong friend. He's like saying about his friend that's like the tough one in the group. They don't really but he looks out for everybody. But it's like, hey man, but are you good though? And I think that's just a beautiful sentiment in the song.
It's huge.
Like, hey, check on your strong friend. You know, the one that's always putting on the brave face, or like even the positive ones, like we were talking about prior. The one that's always shining that light. Hey, do you need a little bit of light shine?
Yeah. like he's like he or she's like the hero, but not showing what's behind the mask. It's like I can be as positive and you, like I said, remember how I was like telling you, like for me, like I'm always like positive all the time.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes like I hide that internally because, you know, it's one of those things where it's just like, you know, I don't want to express, you know, or be adamant about it. If I need to, like I need to.
Yeah.
But I always like try to make sure, like I'm always like a people person. I always want to make sure, are you okay?
Can I ask you this though? Would you say that you don't? You're asking if everyone else is okay? Is that because you don't want to burden people with what you got going on?
Yeah, because like I always felt for me, because I always check up, making sure everybody else is good.
Yeah.
I always put myself underneath.
Yeah.
Because I always but then the real ones know exactly what you said. Yeah. Like I had a few people.
We just hit on the same wavelength for like a hot second.
I had like a few people, like especially the strong supporting cast, you know, and they know, and they'd just be like, all right, I know like you've been always a positive person, but tell me the truth.
Yeah.
And then I'm just like, all right, you caught me, motherfucker.
Hey, man, but I'm glad that you're able to drop your shields for some people, though. I just hope that you are able to do that. I hope everyone's able to do that at some point. You know?
It's such a strong niche for me to do that, because it's like, this is where I was telling you, and I said it in Gentrix's podcast. Shout out to Gentrix, by the way. You gotta check it out. Outside of work, make sure to check her podcast out.
Absolutely.
You know, it's such a huge thing for me, because it's like, yeah, I'm supporting everybody emotionally. You know, I am always a people person. I always like to ask questions on like places where they feel like something is wrong, you know, and trying to give the best advice or best way to approach it. You know what I mean? But, you know, it's one of those things too where like I'm also going through stuff, but I always wanted to handle it on my own. Yeah. But then when I do that, it's like, yeah, like, no, I can't do that on my own. No. Like I tried, and it was like,
so you do have a breaking point. You do have a threshold where it's like, hey, I should probably reach out to somebody.
Yeah,
and I implore you to, because like I said, you've been nothing but a ray of sunshine for the past however many years that we've known each other. So to hear that this guy's got rain clouded, you know, like I said, I want you to know you can also extend that to me.
Oh, of course, bro. I've always will have these talks with you. You know what I mean? Because it's like I said, I thought I was able to maintain it.
Yeah.
And this is like, just like how you were kind of reflecting on your self-awareness on things. This is one of my challenges, was just like, all right, I got to open up to all my close peeps of what I'm going through. Because it's like, it feels like a relief.
Oh, yeah.
And you know, those peeps are like, you know, this is normal. You're fine. Like, this is something that
we're all going through it, and like the vocalizing it just is a little bit of a reassurance, buddy. It's like,
it's
hey,
such
man,
a reassurance.
sing. It's like, sing.
Yeah, and that's what I realized. You know, it's just, you know, I wish I could have been, you know, more vocal on things that I felt like down upon. You know what I mean?
But this is 30 though. This is the growth. We didn't know.
We didn't know. Yeah,
these are lessons.
We
didn't
know.
Other side of it. So.
Yeah, once I started realizing, like, okay, I gotta open up my emotions more. So
absolutely.
It's crazy, man.
I just want to preface it with this. Anything that I have said thus far throughout us just like having our conversation, I don't just project or say to you. I say these things to myself on a daily basis, because like I have to reaffirm what I'm thinking or what I actually believe. Yeah. And I'm like, Brandon, you do need to talk about your mental health. And it's like it's not just because like I think this is a, it's like, no, if you don't do this, Brandon, before you weren't doing this and you saw how you were. So you need to remind yourself. So like I said, if I'm ever having a conversation with someone else about the trials and tribulations they're going through, it's the same thing I would tell myself. Like sometimes it's okay to talk to yourself in the mirror and just be your own cheerleader type thing.
Yeah.
And like I said, that's something I've just definitely had to do over the past year, and I've realized it's something that's more of a tool than something that I was like really insecure. I'm like, oh, you don't need to pat yourself on the back. I'm like, no, dude, pat yourself on the back. You know?
Yeah.
It's really good.
And having like insecurities in general, we all have insecurities, you know what I mean? The question lies is like, how do we overcome it? Like it's a testament of, all right, how do I figure, like, so one of my insecurities, right? And this, to be honest, is not even an insecurity anymore because I already accepted it like years ago.
Sure.
Like me being short, right? Like in high school, I was always getting insecure about being like the short guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like as years progressed, it's a genetic thing. Like I can't grow after that. Like my parents are short.
Maybe, but genetically, it's also served you in the way of sports where you've been the fastest in park, like point guard. I mean, you're weaving in between lanes. Yeah, I mean, you're not the tallest guy, but you're squeezing by us, and you're going up on a full fast break.
Some stealth shit.
Yeah, dude, pulling jumpers out of the corner. Like, when did he get there? So, there's pros and cons, but I understand. Like, looking internally, where like you might have had to like, but I get it.
And that's the thing too. It's like the overcoming portion of it was just like, you know what? I love myself. Mm-hmm. Like at the end of the day, like I want to be happy of what I want to do, and at the end of it too, like if you're happy of what you want to do and you keep it positive, people will come to you. You know what I mean?
Self-love is
self-love. It's
self-love is so important.
Such a big thing, and that's another thing when how you were going through, like I said, the whole trial and tribulation of 2024, and you were trying to figure things out.
Absolutely.
We go right back to it. Self-love, and you realize music.
It's my love. It's my self-love, dude. It's my therapy. I already got one single out. I didn't do a great job of promoting it. Again, this is a transition period that I was working on, like knowing what I was going to do with this project and how I wanted to go about it. Yeah. So I put the first single out. It's called Eclipse. It's featuring my friend Cody Sega.
Nice. Nice.
He's another artist that works with The Vault and Tyler. Mm-hmm. Young cat, super cool. I was listening to some of his music. We met at this really cool artist meetup. Sometimes The Vault will host some of these events in Boonton.
Oh, cool.
And you just get to network with other musicians, producers, or artists, or people that are just interested in music. And Cody just happened to be there on the first time. And then the second time I went back, he was actually hosting the event himself. Right? He was doing it himself. And we got to chop it up a lot more. And
that's sick.
Dude, he's the coolest kid. Shout out to Cody Sega, but
shout out to him.
Yeah, you gotta shout him out. But I told him, I was like, hey, I got some sessions coming up. I want you to sit in and listen to some of the new stuff that I'm making. I think your sound might gel with what I'm doing. Yeah. And the first song that we put together was called Eclipse. Mm-hmm. But I turned 30 on the solar eclipse today. It's on April of this year. Sorry, my birthday, April 8th, was the total blackout. It was a pretty like cool feeling. Yeah. I stood in the sun and I was like, this feels very it's like this is like I'm standing there like this is a changing moment. I'm turning 30. This whole sun is blacked out. It's just like a very cool thing. Mm-hmm. But I was already in the midst of writing this song about just keeping going and not giving up on yourself, and I like believing in yourself. And I kept trying to get these words out, and we eventually sat down and I started like. I remember I told you, like, I start with the melody first and then I make the beat and all this other stuff. That's how it started. And then Cody and Tyler were able to make the beat and around the lyrics and the melodies that I had made. And so Eclipse is out right now. You can stream it on Apple Music, Spotify. It's out there.
I'll put it in the description, by the way, so you guys can get a chance to check it out.
But the one that I wanted to talk about the most, which is about the transition of coming out on the other side, is a song called Perfectly Normal, Perfectly Sane. Perfectly normal, perfectly sane. With the comma in between.
The comma, gotcha.
More or less, it's just.
I feel like it's what we were just talking about.
It's
really
everything that we've kind of encompassed with this whole conversation of just learning from what was going on before, what's going on with you internally, how do you adjust, how do you fix it, and then where do you go from there. I know that sounds kind of like vague a little bit, but like the music speaks for itself. The second you hear it, you can kind of like understand. But yeah, that's the genuine sentiment. It's just about doing better for yourself and how to go about that, and reassuring yourself that hey, it's gonna be okay. You can do good.
Dude, honestly, I think you just gave me an idea for the title of this podcast. We're gonna talk about it offline.
Okay, you guys don't get the title yet.
Yeah. You're gonna find it once it's uploaded, right, motherfuckers?
But I'm gonna let you have the audio of Perfectly Normal for Perfectly Sane. So at the end of the episode,
send that to me.
The people can listen to it and then the official release will be sometime this fall. It's either gonna be October or November, but I'll announce it on all my socials so everyone can find it.
All right, yeah.
But that's the general goal, and then the project. I'm not dropping the title name for it just yet, but it's gonna come out at the top of the year. I want to do because I still got a couple more songs I want to put out, and I sent you some like rough drafts and some ideas that I'm working with. So as soon as everything's fleshed out, then the whole project and everyone can see where it's gonna lead eventually.
All right,
but, that's the gist of it, man. Just know that you
forward to
keep your head up, and you can make it out of the woods if you just stay positive and trust yourself.
Absolutely, and have a good, strong supporting cast, and at the same time too, like I always say this every day: just be thankful you're alive every day.
Amen, bro.
Yeah, amen to that. Thank you for coming on the show, man.
Okay.
Appreciate you, and thank you guys for watching the podcast. We'll stay tuned for another episode coming up within the next month or so. Peace.